over the weekend, the media networks projected that Joe Biden would win. So CNN, of course, was celebratory about this. MSNBC was celebratory about this. Fox News was actually pretty early on the call of the election, suggesting that Joe Biden has won this thing. Now, technically speaking, media projections don't mean anything. Like, literally, they mean nothing. It does not say in the Constitution of the United States that when CNN and MSNBC and Fox News all declare that somebody has been projected to win an election, that that election is now over. That is not the way the legal process works. And the person challenging the outcome of the election has every legal right, and indeed, if they suspect serious fraud, a legal duty to go ahead and investigate all of those allegations. And as I've been saying all week, as maybe the most consistent member of the media, the election is not over until all the votes are counted and all of the legal processes have played themselves out. When I said this on Tuesday, I got ripped by some people. When I said it on Friday, I got ripped by precisely the opposite people. But here's the reality. That is always the case. It is always the case that the election is not over until it's over. And right now, it is still not over because there are legal processes in place. The Trump campaign is going to have to show voter fraud, enough voter fraud that it would call into consideration the outcome of the election. So it's not just enough to allege that there is one voter fraud case in Philadelphia in order to invalidate the entire Pennsylvania election where President Trump is trailing by something on the order of 35 to 40,000 votes. It is not enough for President Trump to claim that there is some sort of miasmatic, gigantic voter fraud that is happening across the country without providing proof of the extent of that fraud. He's going to have to prove it in court. And if he does, the outcome of the election changes. And if he doesn't, it doesn't. Right? That is all that is happening here. But the notion that the media gets to call this thing and then everybody goes home, and you are bad if you refuse to say that it's over, right? You've done something deeply wrong if you refuse to say that it's over. I'm not going to hear that crap from the same media who suggested for 4 long years that Hillary Clinton was the legit president of the United States, for 2 long years that Stacey Abrams is the legit governor of Georgia. That is not the way any of this works. I'm amazed to watch the members of our esteemed media suggest that if you are a senator like Ted Cruz, and if you refuse to say that Joe Biden is the president-elect of the United States at this point, that is because you are bad. Chris Wallace suggested over the weekend that Ted Cruz, for not saying President-elect Biden, was like a Japanese soldier holding out after World War II. No, not exactly. There's an entire legal process. The inauguration doesn't happen until January 20th. The final certification of the electors does not happen until December. So guess what? Actually, nobody has a responsibility to call Biden president-elect because technically speaking, fact check here, guys, he's not president-elect yet. Okay, that's not the way any of this works. Anyway, here is CNN projecting the Biden win, and you can see they can barely veil their absolute glee that they believe that Joe Biden has been elected president of the United States.
CNN projects Joseph R. Biden Jr. is elected the 46th president of the United States, winning the White House and denying President Trump a second term. We're able to make this projection because CNN projects Biden wins Pennsylvania, the former vice president, in his 3rd run for the highest office, pulling off a rare defeat of a sitting commander-in-chief. With this victory, Kamala Harris is set to become the first woman and the first person of color to be the vice president.
Okay, fact check there. She's not the first person of color ever to be vice president, even if she is elected. Actually, the vice president under Herbert Hoover was a Native American. But in any case, you can see that the media are just gleeful. They are so excited about all of this. Not quite so fast, guys. Number one, still got a legal process to get through. Number two, as we're going to find out, it turns out that your entire media narrative, which is that Donald Trump is the root of all evil, and that as soon as Donald Trump is out of office, Joe Biden has fulfilled his mandate. The skies will part. Rays of sunshine will shine down on the Get ready, gang. And not quite so fast. The fight is only beginning. It is only beginning. And I know that we're all supposed to be just gleeful that President Trump is out. But here's the thing. Joe Biden, even if he's elected, going to be a crappy president. Also, Joe Biden going to be saddled, in all likelihood, with the Republican Senate. Also, Joe Biden going to be saddled on his left by a resurgent progressive left that nearly lost the Democrats the House in a year they were supposed to pick up 10 to 12 seats in the House of Representatives. So all of your celebration, I mean, if you pan that camera around, if you just turn the camera around, it's just a bunch of CNN anchors and staffers Jeffrey tubining over behind their laptops, right? As Wolf Blitzer announces it, they're just tubining over there. And journalism getting everywhere. Okay, the fact is that this fight is only beginning. So all the glee that you're seeing, I know. A lot of conservatives today are depressed and upset that the media called this thing. A lot of conservatives are upset because they think that the future of the country is basically now trash. Okay, that is not correct. Okay, you know what Democrats won, even if they won, which again, the process is not over. Even if Democrats won the presidency of the United States, they did so with a geriatric, old, useless person who is not capable of actually running an administration that will be in any way successful for progressive values. Okay, this election, except for the top of the ticket, where again, there's still uncertainty, except for the top of the ticket, this is a widespread victory for conservatives. Except for the top of the ticket, it was a widespread victory and a widespread rejection of progressive values, and the left's going to try and push anyway. We're going to get to all of that in just 1 second. Anyway, President Trump put out a statement about Joe Biden. Joe Biden immediately claimed victory as soon as the media started projecting this stuff. Now, let me just make the opposite point. Let's say that the media had projected that Donald Trump was going to win the election. And let us say that Donald Trump had immediately declared victory. And Joe Biden had said, listen, I still have questions, legally speaking. You think the media would be treating this the same way? You think the media would have been rushing to the microphones and the cameras to encourage every Democrat to concede the election? I really think not.
Instead of just listening to Hillary Clinton's concession, watch it on the faces of her staff.
You will have successes and setbacks too. This loss hurts.
The hurt was written all over as they wiped away tears and held hands and comforted each other with hugs. Hugs and rubs and patted shoulders, shaking off the loss they never expected.
This is painful, and it will be for a long time.
It left Congressman Joe Crowley with his head in his hand. Hillary herself.
Thank you all very much.
Was on the verge of tears, but kept her composure.
And to all the little girls who are watching this.
But you didn't have to be a little girl to cry.
Finally.
A nail biter had turned into a heartbreaker. Some in the audience struggled 1 minute.
Even in secret, private Facebook.
Laughed the next. When Hillary finished conceding, she consoled her staff more than they consoled her.
Hey! Hello, dear one. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for everything, my friend. You were so wonderful in every way.
Some have worked for Hillary for years, while others...
Superstar. Your first campaign.
First campaign, first loss.
Never stop believing that fighting for what's right is worth it.
Which left Bill Clinton mouthing the words...
President Trump's statement. We all know why Joe Biden is rushing to falsely pose as the winner and why his media allies are trying so hard to help him. They don't want the truth to be exposed. The simple fact is this election is far from over. Joe Biden has not been certified as the winner of any states, let alone any of the highly contested states headed for mandatory recounts, or states where our campaign has valid and legitimate legal challenges that could determine the ultimate victor. In Pennsylvania, for example, our legal observers were not permitted meaningful access to watch the counting process. Legal votes decide who is president, not the news media. Beginning on Monday, Our campaign will start prosecuting our case in courts to ensure election laws are fully upheld and the rightful winner is seated. The American people are entitled to an honest election. That means counting all legal ballots and not counting any illegal ballots. That is the only way to ensure the public has full confidence in our election. It remains shocking that the Biden campaign refuses to agree with this basic principle and wants ballots counted even if they are fraudulent, manufactured, or cast by ineligible or deceased voters. Only a party engaged in wrongdoing would unlawfully keep observers out of the count room and then fight in court to block their access, which actually did happen in Philadelphia. So what is Biden hiding? I will not rest until the American people have the honest vote count they deserve and that democracy demands. First of all, I think that the legal process is a very good thing. There is a lot of uncertainty right now about the cleanliness and transparency of the election, particularly on the conservative side of the aisle. Getting all of those questions answered in court is not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. And by the way, if you're a Biden fan, you should want this. Honestly, if you're a Biden fan and you think that Biden was legit elected and voter fraud was not the deciding factor and it wasn't vote irregularity or anything like that, then at the end of the process, Biden's still going to be president-elect and you're going to be able to say that the election was fully legitimate, and so you don't have that cloud hanging over Biden all the way. But right now, there are a lot of conservatives who are rightly suspicious of the vote count in places like Philadelphia. And by the way, there's no reason not to be suspicious, given the fact that particularly in Philadelphia, it is worthwhile noting the Democratic Party did, in fact, file a lawsuit to stop Republican observers from entering the count room. That makes people suspicious, and they're not wrong to be suspicious about all of that. It also doesn't make us any less suspicious on the right when you have people like Ibram Kendi, the ideological godfather of the quote-unquote anti-racist movement, tweeting out crap like this. He tweeted out, "The term legal vote is as fictionally fraught and functionally racist as the terms illegal alien and race neutral and welfare queen and handouts and super predator and crack baby and personal responsibility and post-racial." Okay, this is one of the ideological founders of the New Democratic Party. The term legal vote is functionally racist? Seriously? Like, you expect me to trust the vote when you are saying that the term legal vote is functionally racist? I'm sorry, what now? Like, legal vote is not functionally racist. Legal vote just means that you complied with all of the statutory requirements to cast a vote. That's not functionally racist. But of course, Ibram Kendi is a complete nut job. I mean, Ibram Kendi is also, in that same phraseology, he says that if you say that you are post-racial or if you say that you are race neutral, this is also functionally racist. He says the misinformation of widespread voter fraud or illegal voting in Detroit, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Phoenix, where black and brown voters predominate, is baked into the term legal vote. No matter what GOP propaganda says, there's nothing wrong with those voters and votes. Nobody says that any legal vote that is cast is illegal. What is he even talking about? There has been a history of voter corruption in places like Philadelphia. I read you last week a story from Philadelphia in May. There was a federal prosecution of a person for stuffing ballot boxes in Philadelphia. But again, I'm just wondering, how do you expect everybody on the right to be quiescent until there's an actual legal process? Let the legal process work. Let the legal process go through. Ibram Kendi concludes, what makes a term racist is rarely the term's literal meaning, and almost always the historical and political context in which the term is being used, which is his way of saying, I know the term legal voting isn't racist. I'm just going to say that it's racist because I, Ibram Kendi, have deemed every single thing I don't like to be a racist thing. And then I get 20 grand a pop to go speak at diversity training seminars at major corporations hoping to avoid liability. That's Ibram Kendi's shtick. Okay, so that is where the race currently stands. Trump has a burden to overcome for sure, because the deficit that he has experienced in terms of voting in Arizona, Georgia, and Pennsylvania is essentially the same on a thousands level as the vote deficit that Hillary Clinton had in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania last time around. So that is he has to show not just that there is voter fraud or voter irregularity, he has to show that it is actually above and beyond the margin of loss in those particular states. That is a heavy burden, and he will have to prove it in court. And if he does, the election results change. And if he doesn't, they don't. But to preemptively declare the election is over and anybody who has questions about the election needs to sit down and shut up, that's nonsense.